The 15th of January 1978, Tallahassee, Florida. Inside the Chi Omega sorority house, screams shattered the night. Within minutes, 2 young women lay dead, and 2 others were brutally beaten. The man who did this would soon become one of America's most infamous killers, Theodore Robert Bundy. But Bundy's story began decades earlier. Theodore Robert Cole was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, was unmarried. To avoid the shame, Ted was raised believing his grandparents were his parents and that his mother was his sister. As a child in Tacoma, Washington, Bundy appeared polite and intelligent. But neighbors recalled troubling behaviors. He stole, peeped into windows, and displayed an obsession with knives. Later, Bundy would admit he felt different from other children. He never understood relationships or emotions the way others did. In the 1960s, Bundy attended the University of Washington, studying psychology. By all appearances, he was charismatic, articulate, and ambitious. He volunteered at a suicide hotline, where colleagues remembered him as kind and attentive. But beneath this polished surface, Bundy was unraveling. A failed relationship with his girlfriend, Stephanie Brooks, devastated him. She was wealthy, sophisticated, and everything Bundy wanted. When she ended the relationship, Bundy felt humiliated, and many believe it fueled his hatred toward women who resembled her. Young, attractive, with long dark hair parted in the middle. On January 4, 1974, 18-year-old Karen Sparks was attacked in her bed in Seattle. She survived, but with permanent brain damage. Just a month later, Bundy broke into the basement of Linda Ann Healy, a University of Washington student. She vanished without a trace. Over the next year, more young women disappeared from the Pacific Northwest. Janice O'Tt, Denise Naslund, Georgianne Hawkins, all last seen alive by friends, all vanishing in broad daylight. Witnesses described a man with an injured arm or leg, often asking for help. He introduced himself as Ted. By 1974, women were disappearing at an alarming rate from Washington, Oregon, and later, Utah and Colorado. Many were last seen with a man driving a Volkswagen Beetle. Bundy would lure victims into his car, where he had removed the passenger seat and rigged restraints. Once inside, the women were trapped. Authorities began connecting cases, but had no concrete suspect. In 1975, a traffic stop changed everything. Police in Utah pulled over Bundy's tan Volkswagen. Inside, they found ski masks, handcuffs, crowbars, and rope. Bundy was arrested for possession of burglary tools. Soon after, he was linked to the kidnapping of 18-year-old Carol Deranche, who had narrowly escaped his attempt to abduct her months earlier. Deranche identified Bundy in a police lineup, leading to his conviction for kidnapping in 1976. But investigators in other states suspected him of much more. Bundy was extradited to Colorado to face charges for murder. But in 1977, he escaped twice. The first time, he jumped from a second-story courthouse library window. He was recaptured 6 days later. The second time, in December, he lost over 30 pounds, cut a hole in his cell ceiling, and crawled into the jailer's apartment above. He walked right out the front door. For weeks, Bundy was free and ready to kill again. On January 15, 1978, Bundy attacked the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. Within minutes, he murdered Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman, and severely injured Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner. Just 3 weeks later, Bundy abducted and killed 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, his youngest known victim. The brutality was escalating. Bundy was spiraling out of control. On February 15, 1978, a Pensacola police officer stopped a stolen Volkswagen. The driver fought fiercely before being subdued. His name, Theodore Bundy. By now, Bundy was one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives. Investigators tied him to the Florida murders, and soon to dozens of killings across multiple states. Bundy insisted on representing himself in court. He relished the attention, smiling for cameras, cross-examining witnesses, and even proposing marriage to Carol Ann Boone in the middle of his trial. But behind the theatrics, the evidence was damning. Bite marks on Lisa Levy's body matched Bundy's teeth. His Volkswagen contained traces of victims' hair and fibers. In 1979, Bundy was sentenced to death for the Chi Omega murders. A second death sentence followed for Kimberly Leach. After nearly a decade of appeals, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair on January 24, 1989, at Florida State Prison. Outside the prison, crowds cheered, holding signs that read, "Burn Bundy, burn." Before his death, Bundy confessed to more than 30 murders. Authorities believe the true number could be higher. Ted Bundy was the perfect predator because he never looked like one. He was clean-cut, intelligent, even likable. But behind the smile was a man who stalked, abducted, and murdered without remorse. He reminded the world of a terrifying truth. Evil doesn't always wear a monster's face. Sometimes it looks ordinary. This was the story of Ted Bundy, the charming monster. You've been watching Intrigue Lab. Subscribe for more true crime stories where we uncover the darkest truths behind history's most chilling figures.